My name is Stacey Allen McGee, and I'm the founder and national director of the United States UFO Information and Research Center that was founded in February of 1994 to study UFOs and alien abduction. We quickly moved from that into Bigfoot sightings and worked with the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency and the Sheriff's Departments, the Police Departments, and several local agencies. And
see, there is a lot more out there that we need to all open our minds and really try to be more aware of our surroundings. And who knows how many people have had these experiences and maybe they've even blocked them out, or they see something and have an experience like you, but if they don't have any knowledge on the subject, just put it to the back of their mind. Something goes into your subconscious, you just don't think about it anymore.
We've just recently gotten back into UFOs and alien abduction. I had called it an intuition or a sixth sense or what have you, but I've had this feeling that we're going back into another UFO flap, which is an increased period of UFO sighting activity. And so our paranormal meetings that we have locally in urban Tennessee tend to focus on the latest sightings, the latest video footage that's been taken around the world. We concentrate mainly on sightings in western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, and southwest Virginia. But we were in a hiatus for about 4 years when it came to UFOs and strictly sort of concentrated on ghosts. And so I don't want to, I want to do the ghost walks justice, so I do want to let people know that you can find out more. We do have wonderful tours. We've been voted in the top 10 of the United States by Haunted America Tours in New Orleans. We're right up there with Gettysburg and Charleston, Savannah, so you don't have to go to Savannah or Charleston anymore to do a ghost tour. You can come right across the mountain to any of the East Tennessee frontier towns, and America's first western frontier was right across the mountains. Our first western frontier was East Tennessee. You still had, up until the western part of North Carolina where we are now sitting doing this interview, this was considered part of the original 13 states, colony states. As soon as you go across those mountains, it was frontier territory and you were leaving civilization. And in the late 1700s, we were still fighting with the Indians over there.
And so they're located was like a hotbed for, it seems, I would take it that it would be a hotbed for interaction between the Indians, the Cherokees, and the settlers and the frontiersmen.
And we have all of that history on every single tour we do. All the history is endorsed by the historical societies in every town that we tour. And people get the real history as it applies to the townspeople all the way back to the Cherokee Indians forward. And those of you that have Cherokee in you, I know there's a lot in western North Carolina, you'll be glad to know that we've resurfaced the real folklore, the real legend of the Cherokee people and some of their history that go back 500 years for people. And if you want to learn about your people, if those of you that are, just the whites, descendants of the white settlers, if you want to learn about the first people to live here, the Cherokee, and before them there was even another tribe of Indians that go back 6,000 years in southern Appalachia. They were called the Yaqui Indians.
That is wild.
Yeah, and we've had
all this is through the ghost tours. You can learn all this information.
Every tour is different. Every tour is wonderful, fabulous. It's another piece of a very large puzzle that we have put together for people of the history of Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia, the first western frontier of America. Everybody from Maine to Florida came through a little town called Jonesboro, Tennessee, on the Great Road West to stake out a claim west.
Wow.
That's why I-40 runs the entire length of the state of Tennessee these days, because that was the first wilderness trail. And that's the road that the stagecoaches and wagons followed to points like Kansas, Colorado, Missouri. That's where they all went to do that big rush west to get the gold. They all came through Jonesboro. And these little frontier towns, Greenville, Jonesboro, Abingdon, of course not so much Abingdon because it was part of the 13 colonies of Virginia, but you've got Rogersville, Greenville, Irwin, Tennessee. Irwin was the site of the first white settlement in the new state, which would later become Tennessee. Right across the mountains here. You've got Jonesboro, Tennessee's oldest town, the first town staked out in the new state, was also home to the first capital of the lost state of Franklin. We were actually going to be called Franklin instead of Tennessee. And our first attempts at statehood lasted 4 years. And there was horrible tragedies. The cholera epidemic of 1873 swept through the little town of Jonesboro, and 60% of its population were either infected by or killed from this disease.
Oh my God.
So you can imagine why Jonesboro was listed on the Travel Channel as being one of the most haunted towns of America.
Right. And such a painful, traumatic death.
Yeah. And there are still to this day mounds where the bodies were thrown into mass graves at the oldest cemetery in the town. Still there when you walk in, you can almost feel the unrest.
Do you go there on the tour?
We will have a tour in a couple of years. There will be a daytime bus tour that will go to all the old cemeteries in Tennessee, including the oldest headstone with writing on it in the entire state of Tennessee is right across the mountain near Irwin, between Irwin and Jonesboro.
And what does that date back to?
The late 1700s.
Well, I hope you all are learning a lot. I'm learning a lot tonight. And I hope you'll take time to go out and take one of the tours, learn a little bit more about the history of our area, the people, and maybe even run into a few of them.
We like to call them the people of the past. We rarely refer to people as the spirits of the dead, because it's sort of an oxymoron. If they are conscious and aware of our presence, which they most certainly seem to be, they're definitely not dead. They're just in a different state of being.
Right.
And so we call them the people of the past because they lived at a different time, a different point in time as we see time, as we actually perceive the passage of time. I think they live somewhere outside of that.
Do you feel like a lot of it may be just impressions that are left? I've heard that because of the mountains having so much quartz in them, that they almost act as like a computer chip to hold, energies and possibly memories and impressions left. And since that is such a traumatic time going out into, the unknown, to go out west, and the cities that were hit with cholera, or even a lot of TV here in the mountains where people came thinking they could rehabilitate and get better, and so many people passed. Do you think that plays a part in why there is so much activity in the mountains?
Well, the mineral deposits here are extremely interesting. On several geological survey maps by the United States government, several of the mountaintops in eastern Tennessee are listed as gravitational anomalies. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting mineral effects. And there's two different types of hauntings. There's an intellectual haunting, and there's also a residual haunting, which is a haunting where you have an imprint that's left on the space-time continuum that seems to repeat at a certain time of day, or a certain time of the year, or even a certain time of the month, or whenever the planets may come around in a certain alignment, it may recreate itself and happen all over again. You may see someone who fell down a flight of stairs in their lifetime and break their leg. You may see them do it again.
Right.
Even if that person, in some cases, we've even found that person may not even be dead yet, and these impressions can still be left.
If it was traumatic enough of a situation.
Yes.
That is wild.
And it has to do with something that Stephen Hawking refers to in his research with black holes called finite repeating loops of time. And you create enough negative energy density around an event, such as the negative feelings associated, the emotions associated with this traumatic event. You create that negative energy density around an object, in this case a person, in a positive energy density universe, then you're creating a loop of time that eventually will accelerate out of our ability to see it beyond the speed of light.